I can already see how people will regard this MVP season years from now. They will point to the stats and discredit Lamar's value. However, unlike other years, there is a nuanced conversation to be had about the MVP this season. You had to have watched the Ravens play to really understand why he's the MVP. Yes, the Ravens have a vaunted all-time great defense. However, they've had to ask Lamar to win them games, and he has delivered. He's made unbelievable plays to extend the plays and deliver some of the prettiest off-platform throws. His playmaking ability this season stands shoulder to shoulder with any great quarterback that you can think of right now. Entering Week 18, Jackson has a career best 3,678 yards, 24 passing touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. His 8.0 yards per attempts, 8.4 adjusted yards per attempts, and 65.3 QBR all rank him 4th in the league. His 7.0 net yards gained per pass attempts and his 7.34 adjusted net yards per pass attempts place him 3rd. The only quarterbacks ahead of him in the advanced metrics, he's outperformed them when they matched up. But I don't want to go too deep into why I personally think he's the MVP. Instead, I'm going to attack some narratives that his detractors consistently bring up. His lack of touchdowns and the fact that he went 4 games without a single passing touchdown.
Combined the months of September and November combined, how many touchdown passes would you assume he had? They played 7 games.
I would assume he probably had 9.
He had 6.
Okay, 6.
He had 6 in the month of September and November. He had 5 in this game.
Okay.
But he had 6 in the months of November and September.
But what else did he do?
To your point, what else did he do? I'm trying to figure that out, because if you're talking about quarterbacks that won the award, they usually lead the league in some category. They're usually top 5 in some category.
To me, the MVP is somebody who has been kicking ass and taking names week after week. He's also had 4 games this year without a touchdown pass. 4. Then he's had other games where he had 1 touchdown. 2 games, like, he has not been.
This is perhaps the laziest argument anyone can make, because they're showing their ass. They're telling their viewers that they didn't actually watch the Ravens play. Lamar's first game without a TD was in Week 1 against the Houston Texans. First, the Texans' defense was amazing the entire game, putting pressure on Jackson all game long, which forced him to make some awful decisions and throw an awful pick on 3rd and 6 on Houston's 16-yard line. His fumble wasn't great either, but he was a magician in the pocket, evading sacks and making huge plays to drive the team down the field for his running backs to punch it in. Justice Hill had 2 touchdowns from the 2-yard line. J.K. Dobbins had 4-yard touchdown. Would Lamar throwing a TD have changed the outcome? Because they won the game. Now, Lamar's second game without a passing TD came against the Indianapolis Colts in Week 3. The Ravens didn't play particularly well, and their clock management was abysmal. Lamar had a fumble in the pocket, and despite Gardner Minshew doing his best Dan Orlovsky impression and giving the Ravens 2 points, the team still lost. The Colts were getting pressure on Lamar all day and making him clearly uncomfortable throughout the game. Despite not throwing a touchdown pass, Lamar had 2 beautiful runs for touchdowns, and he continued to do the Lamar things of, evading rushers and making big plays. So could a passing TD have changed the outcome of the game? Sure. But let's remember, Jackson made big plays to set up the greatest kicker of all time at the 61-yard line, and he had made a 63-yarder earlier in his career, and he missed it, which sent it to overtime, and the Colts eventually won. Now, Jackson's 3rd game without a touchdown came against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 5. Yes, the interception to Joey Porter wasn't the greatest throw. It was horrendous. But there were clear drop touchdowns in this game. Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman had a drop each in the end zone, and Nelson Aguilar dropped a touchdown, or at least a would-be touchdown, at the 10-yard line. But nonetheless, the Ravens lost 17-10, and if Jackson threw 2 touchdowns, they surely would have won the game. And then the final game where Lamar didn't pass for a TD was against the Seattle Seahawks in Week 9. The Ravens won the game by a wide margin as their defense showed out. The final score was 37-3, and Jackson did Jackson things by extending plays and driving the team down the field for his running backs to punch it in. In fact, with 12 minutes left in the game, Jackson was no longer in the game because they had such a comfortable lead. Throughout these games where Jackson didn't pass for a TD, He was the engine that made the offense go. Believe me, Gus Edwards having 12 touchdowns from within 5 yards wasn't because he drove the team down the field and was getting rewarded for that. Jackson could have easily had 10 more touchdowns if the Ravens chose to go down that route. But sure, let's not talk about what could have been or should have been. Let's talk about what has been done. The Ravens have had a great defense that has to be acknowledged. Offensively, Lamar is the main piece. This season, he has lost his starting running back in J.K. Dobbins, lost another explosive runner in Keaton Mitchell. He lost his starting tight end and safety blanket in Mark Andrews. His starting tackles have missed considerable time, and he's playing in a new offensive scheme this season. Moreover, the Ravens have played the toughest schedule in the NFL this season, according to Pro Football Reference, and when they've gone up against the best, Jackson has shown out, unlike other candidates. The Ravens have the second highest scoring offense in the league, second highest total offense, and of course the best rushing offense with Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and Keaton Mitchell for a few games. But of course, Lamar is the leading rusher for the Ravens with 821 yards as of week 17, which puts him in the top 20 in the NFL. Now, it's easy to get caught up in the narratives about this year's MVP, but who could you really make the argument for? Sure, Jackson's stats aren't otherworldly, but in any game, he has been the best player on the field on both sides of the ball. So the question is Lamar Jackson the unanimous MVP?